What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, another episode of the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you by us here at Schedulefly, simple web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and at a low price point. I actually just posted today on our Substack. We are celebrating 18 years in business and 18 years of not one single price increase. So our pricing chart has been the same since it was in 2007. So if you're on pencil and paper or Excel and you have headaches with scheduling and communication, check us out. 30-day free trial, schedulefly.com. My personal cell phone number is on there. You can call me anytime. Or if you're working with one of these VC-backed scheduling softwares and you keep seeing the fees go up, give us a shot. We'd love to earn your business. Schedulefly.com. So, all right, enough of that. Let's talk about Restaurant Owners Uncorked and this awesome opportunity to talk with Seth Watson. He's down in Atlanta, getting ready to get out of there and go to Alaska to get out of the heat. But thankfully, although I did my best to almost screw this up today, and by being 20 minutes late, Seth hung around, and here we are. So, Seth, thank you, and just take a minute and introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. No worries about the timing. It is late in the week and schedules are hard to keep sometimes. I'm Seth Watson, owner and founder of Distillery of Modern Art. Like Will said, we're here in Atlanta, Georgia, more specifically in Chamblee, which is just a little sidestep from city proper.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, we're just going to have like a free flow conversation. But the one thing that I don't have like a format, right? But the one thing I always ask is to kind of tee this up is like, how and when did you first get started in hospitality?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been in hospitality my entire professional career. So out of college, coming down to University of Florida, down in Gainesville, Florida, I had just a real interest in entertainment and in hospitality in general, and started a small company with a partner at the time doing production and design work for private events. So originally was doing kind of a classic entrepreneur story. It was just myself, another guy, a small pickup truck in his dad's garage. And we were doing a couple events a year, emceeing events, trying to build out some audio setups. I had experience with again, in entertainment, and slowly started to grow this business to full on production and design work for private events. So let's say the first year we did events, we may have done 10 and a couple hundred people to a couple thousand people. And by the time I sold the company in 2017, we were doing about 400 to 450 events a year, ranging from a couple hundred people to tens of thousands. So we were doing lighting, staging, sound, decor, prop fabrication, set design, and furniture building. And again, that was from anything from a small wedding to the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Whatever people could think of if they were looking to do something bigger and crazier, that's where we came in.
Interesting. Okay. That's fascinating. And you sold that in, you said 2017?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you doing it?
17 years.
17 years. Okay.
Yep.
I think I probably
we went from just, again, some small garage to like 20,000 square feet of warehousing, just full of toys and fun, running 10 shows a night, 10 different crews, 10 different trucks, 10 different venues. It was a lot for a long time.
It is a lot. Well, I think I know the answer. Why'd you sell it?
That's an interesting question. So I got lucky, thankfully, prior to the pandemic, but I'm an operator through and through. And my partner at the time is a sales guy. Pretty good sales guy, but the type of guy who always thought he was the smartest guy in the room. And eventually that got to me because I prefer to surround myself with people far smarter than I am. And he started trying to move his little sales foot into operations. Eventually it became sour. It made sense to leave on a high and not let it run into a ground out of like bitterness. Like I woke up one day and realized I'm starting to get more gray than I need at my age. It's probably this. So it was an awesome time to leave that industry. And, less than 3 years later, that industry was decimated because of the pandemic. And thankfully, I was already on a path to building this distillery.
Were you all partners? Was he the original partner? You were together 17 years?
Yep. We were 50-50 partners for 17 years. It's why I don't have partners right now. It's exactly why I don't have partners. Need to be in control. I would take on partners as long as I retained control. Um, Shockingly, I am a control freak and just needed to be a final decision maker. So it made sense. I learned a lot working with somebody like that, but certainly learned what I didn't like.
50-50 doesn't work, man. Like it just somebody has to own it, like
Yep.
own it meaning like not but just own like gotta have somebody that's like, look, we're doing it this way. Like, and it's hard when you're not in that situation. It's funny because you did that 17 years. I just bought out my partners on April 30th and we were together for 18 years. And
Congrats.
thank you. And, I mean, I was in a minority situation and like I wanted to paint with blue and maybe one of the guys wanted to paint with green. And, it's like all good, but it's like, it kind of got to the point where it's funny you said, man, really interesting timing and everything. Cause I got up one day and I was like, man, I either need to buy these guys out or I need to get them to buy me out. But like 18 years is a good run, first of all.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
no matter what. And it's probably very hard, uh, to go for decades and decades unless you're really lucky from day one, which is hard because your business goes through so many phases and transitions. And I mean, what you were in a garage to what you became is like, two ends of the, all opposite ends of extreme of like the type of people and decisions and everything that comes with that. So that's really cool, man. Seth, congratulations on that. So you guys sell that thing. And then how did you get, but you were already planning Distillery of Modern Art. Is that what you said?
Yes and no. So I knew as I was feeling the urge to move on, the question was really what next? Because, okay, cool, I'll get lucky, I'll sell the thing, make a little money, but I need to have a plan. I was already starting a family and like definitely couldn't not work. That wasn't an option. I don't think I'll ever not work. But I was just trying to figure out what I was passionate about. And something that always stuck in my head, I'm a big whiskey drinker, have been my entire drinking career, if you will, and was always very curious why the state of Georgia did not make more spirits, make more whiskey. What was the issue in the state? And so as I was thinking what's next, I was in the back of my head just sort of tossing around, can I make whiskey in this state? Can I build a venue? Those were two things that stood out to me. I had been creating in every venue known to man in the Southeast for so long. I got so familiar with what venues were and weren't, what worked, what didn't, what was good for vendors, what was good for the clients, why a venue would want us back, any one of those pieces. I'm a constant, I like to say I'm a long-term chess player, even though I'm terrible at the actual game of chess. I like to just move pieces sort of slowly to see. I'm not I like to jump in both feet at the same time, but I also like to make sure that my homework's been done. So I'm studious, but I'm also a risk taker, if that makes sense. And
Yep.
my curiosity at the time was, again, can I make whiskey and can I build a venue? I wanted to marry what I knew with what I was passionate about. Those are the two pieces. Now, I didn't know how to make whiskey. I'd never made a spirit a day in my life, just knew that I was an enthusiast and was wildly curious as to why it wasn't being done more in the state. So as I'm getting ready to transition and sell, I start to poke around the state, trying to understand the law a little bit. Hired a consultant at the time just for some information in the industry to say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm willing to throw some money at this to figure out if it's a viable option. And that was again in 2017. And so started talking with this consultant, started digging into the law and realized that the state of Georgia is just backwards. We're outdated laws since Prohibition. And the majority of the laws on the books just haven't been changed because people are afraid to change things in the state. So I'm like, okay, well, let's start building out a financial model. Is there a world where I can make enough whiskey, have enough events to afford making enough whiskey, and then be able to figure out how to sell it? One thing I was unwilling to do, I don't know how well you know whiskey in general, but you obviously need to age whiskey. It takes time. So a lot of time, money, and effort goes into the front end, and then you're talking years before you can see an ROI.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how many days in a week, how many events, at what price point could I possibly do that would allow for me to afford making all this whiskey? And the immediate answer was, I cannot. There's no chance of just having whiskey production and events to afford all of it. So, okay. So clearly the answer was I need to have some other revenue streams. Why not do more than just whiskey? figure out clear spirits that are rapid to produce, can be put into the market, and start to make money. So great, that started to make more sense. The laws in Georgia, as I mentioned before, were so crazy even then. They're a little bit better now, but up until 2017, if you went into a manufacturer, into a producer's facility, a brewery or distillery, you're allowed to go on a tour. So you could buy a $15 to $25 tour ticket. And at the conclusion of the tour, you're allowed up to a 1 ounce sample.
Mm.
That was it. You couldn't leave with product. You couldn't stay for a drink. You couldn't do any of those things.
Okay.
I use Sweetwater Brewery as an example because it was a brewery that's been here as long as I've been in Georgia, or right after I got to Georgia anyway. And I remember I never understood why they pour you these tiny little samples of beer and you couldn't stay for a beer. It seemed insane to me. But that was the law. And so as I'm starting to design this distillery, I had originally planned for a really small tasting bar, just where you can come after a tour, sample the spirits, and you move on. SB, I believe 85 passes in the state that gets rid of that 1 ounce law. And in a state like Georgia, for all alcohol, it's considered a three-tier state. So the producer sells to a distributor, the distributor then sells to retail bars, liquor stores, and so forth. You can't sell direct to a consumer. So if they came, there was no tourism. If you came, you couldn't buy bottles or cases from me. You'd have to hope it's in your home market to be able to purchase. So they decide to throw a bone. This is holdover from Prohibition still, where the distributor has all the control. Basically, the mafia turned into the distribution company. So they always get their cut. But they're like, all right, we'll throw them a bone. They'll shut up for a few years. The law changed and allowed for distillers to sell up to 3 bottles per person per day. So now there's a little bit of wiggle room here where I can actually sell you product when you come on site. And because they got rid of the 1 ounce law, it allowed me to actually build a cocktail bar. Now, as a manufacturer, I can only sell and use what I make. So I can't bring in mixers or other liquor or beer or wine, anything that I don't make in-house, I can't use behind my bar. But now I have this great opportunity to utilize my distillery as the first intro to the brand, where you may see directly behind you our spirits being made on a still, and you get to try those in a cocktail in a bar 5 feet away. And so that now opens another stream of revenue for us, which was great. So I'm designing all this together. The law changes. It starts to come into focus. Being in the events world and production and design for so long, I had fallen in love with the arts. I'm a creative. I am no artist, but I had fallen in love with the creativity and the artistry of most things, from music to physical art. And I really wanted to figure out a brand edge, something that really spoke to me and could speak to what this distillery would be all about. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. I was doing some recipe development with a partner distillery, a friend of ours, and started having samples. So I was doing blind taste tests across the country, through my home state, wherever. And I would do blind because as soon as you strip away marketing from something, you get a true essence of what people really feel about something being expensive or just good. And what I really wanted to know is what people thought was good. So I was buying at the time, it's just hundreds of dollars for a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, all the way down to like a $20, $30 bottle of Old Grandad, specifically whiskey, and would do blind taste tests. And what I would find, which I kind of already knew, is that people never gravitated towards the expensive whiskey when they didn't know it was expensive whiskey. They always gravitated to the tried and true. And so it was very subjective to me how people, if you were to throw that marketing back out, somebody would pick an expensive bottle because they know the name or perceived it to be of high quality versus something of less value. And so the subjectivity kept coming back and forth. And when I was thinking of a brand identity, I wanted to make sure that whatever we were saying to the public was real, it was authentic. I'm not a 5th generation distiller. I don't have some 200-year-old recipe. My grandpappy didn't moonshine up in the mountains and I dug up his recipe when we were burying a dog, whatever the nonsense PR stories are. That wasn't me. So I take myself as a modern person. I like modern aesthetic. I like modern art a lot. And I just kept finding the subjectivity of art and spirit to be the same, because spirits are wildly subjective. You may look at the Mona Lisa and say, hey, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Person standing next to you may not get it at all. And that's how I felt about spirits. You might love my whiskey, but not understand my gin, or someone, vice versa. And so that subjectivity of art and spirit kept coming back to me, and thus became Distillery of Modern Art. Every piece of our building is designed after a particular modern artist that I love. I then decided as an alcohol brand, I needed to dedicate a particular space for art. So I now have an art gallery here in this building that's dedicated only to local artists. I pair 2 complementary artists at a time, rotate them every 2 months, and we take 0 commission from them. So now I've got a cocktail bar, an art gallery, a full production space, and an event space, all wrapped into one beautiful place.
Cocktail bar, art gallery, production space, and event space. Okay.
That's right.
Fascinating, dude. God, I've got a billion questions. Okay. So whiskey. Now, so it's not bourbon.
It is bourbon.
It is bourbon. Okay. Which is,
So I've got a question for you.
yeah.
Are you under the impression that bourbon can only be made in Kentucky?
No, I know enough to be dangerous. I know it's basically just like a newly filled charred oak barrel and 51% corn and, whatever. Like it doesn't have to be made in any state. It's just that that's where a lot of it is made or whatever. But like the corn is the delineator between whether it's bourbon or not, right? Is that right?
So you're super close and you're actually way more knowledgeable than most people. Bourbon is specifically an American product. If you think like tequila being specifically Mexican, it can only be made there. Champagne coming from a particular region. Those are American. Bourbon is American, full stop. To your point, it needs to be at least 51% corn. It needs to go in a new charred oak barrel. Can't be in a used barrel. Can't come off the still over 160 proof. And American. Yeah. So 4 main pieces to the entire thing. Now, whatever else goes into that can still be considered bourbon. It just needs to meet those 4 pieces of criteria. There's not even an age requirement. Now, within bourbon, you can have a straight bourbon, you can have a bottled and bond, things that do require age statement. But to be considered bourbon, it can go in a barrel for 20 seconds and then dumped and can be considered bourbon. It's going to be garbage, but it's still bourbon.
It's still bourbon. Yeah, there was some dude on years ago on Tim Ferriss's podcast, Richard Beck, I think his name is, or something like that. He's like a master sommelier and a bourbon maker dude. And I remember him going through some of those criteria. I think he said like, and then I thought it was really interesting because like with whiskey, if the word whiskey doesn't have an E before the Y, that means that the country doesn't have an E in its name, like Japan. Whisky, or Scotland, KY, or whatever. Like it was really interesting. Like there's all these little unique things I'd never thought about, but I thought that was kind of cool. But it's been a decade since I probably listened to that. So, okay. So here you are down there in Georgia. Are there other distilleries, bourbon distilleries in Georgia?
Absolutely, there is. So the state probably has about 14 to 16 distilleries. There's a lot of nuance when you talk about a distillery. So there are way more brands in the state of Georgia, meaning these are just people who go and use third parties for everything. They'll go buy bulk product from somebody already made. They'll slap it in a new bottle, new label. You hear about a distillery that just opened, all of a sudden has an 8-year-old product.
Use that company in Indiana or whatever, like NL.
Yeah, MGP.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is nothing wrong with that. They make fantastic product. People love it. That's why people buy it in bulk. In fact, we are a producer for other brands as well. We actually make 40 other products for 18 other brands. That includes a lot of different whiskey and all sorts of products across the country. But a lot of brands will misguide you into thinking they either made a product or they are a physical producing distillery. There are a million ways you can go about being in the alcohol industry. You don't need to physically be distilling. We happen to be. There's probably only a handful of actual producers in the state. Lots of distilleries, lots of brands, but only a few actual producers that are actually making product, not buying from Indiana, not buying from whomever else, from Kentucky. So there are lots of them. And in Atlanta, there are probably, so ASW is probably the oldest and the most recognizable whiskey distiller in Atlanta. And then you head down to South Georgia, you've got 13th Colonies, which is a really good producer. You've got a rum producer, you've got a gin producer, you've got a handful of actual producers locally. Not that many. And I would say we're probably making the most amount of proof gallons in whiskey, at least definitely in the city, if not the state.
So you make it for other people that are doing this
We
instead of
sure do.
in Indiana, they get it from you and then they slap their,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Is it a
So
different?
the beauty for us is, well, yes, we don't have stock that's 6, 8, 10 years old because we're a 3-year-old business. So we're making it them for the future. Whiskey, gin, vodka, whatever it is. Um, because our brand is still brand new. It's only 3 years old, and we're just now moving into 2 new states. We had only been in Georgia until less than a month ago. I mentioned earlier, I just got back from Florida. We just launched in Florida. Less than a month ago, we just launched in Tennessee.
That mean you
But
launch, you open,
we're
you
now
just,
in distribution.
you're
We're
in
now in
distribution.
distribution in those states. Yeah. It's the old adage of owning your own backyard. So we wanted to make sure we had a proof of concept in the state before we attempted to sell products in other states. Every state has different laws, what kind of distribution you can go into, who you can sell to, every state being different. So to offset that, I bought a big, beautiful bottling line and have all this fancy equipment. And to offset or at least an ROI while we build our brand is to do this for other brands as well. So we either have brand new brands that come to us with a recipe and say, can you make this? We have others that come to us and say, I have 30 barrels of whiskey. I just need bottled, labeled, and shipped out. We have others that say, I'm trying to make a ready to drink bottled cocktail. And so we'll formulate, work through that process and do all the above. And so, as mentioned, we're making now, I think, 40 total other products for 18 other brands, as far north as New York and as far west as Seattle. We've got brands all the way out there that we do business for.
So this is similar to them. I mean, why would they, okay, why would they come to you versus, what is it called? MGP?
MGP, yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. So, a couple of reasons. One, they get better attention. We're a much smaller company. For local brands, it means they can come visit and be a part of it. If they're a Georgia-based brand, having to go to Indiana and pay the absurd rate to go there, or trust a young producer who has your back, can listen, is physically available for you, can dial in. If you go to MGP, you have a list of like 5 things you can buy. There's very few like unique properties. If you go to the liquor store, there's probably, I'm not exaggerating when I say 20 or 30 brands on the shelf that are all unique to what people may think, all are the exact same product, just with a different label on it. And that's where subjectivity comes into play. The different label, or maybe they change the proof, slightly different taste, and you assume it's a completely different product. So that is, I would say, a mass producer. We're still a very small producer who's doing things slightly more unique. We're using different mash bills, like different recipes. Our grains are all locally grown. We know our farmer. There's just like a lot of advantage. So let's say I take a 0.5 point to 1.5 percentage points of business from Indiana. That's huge for us, and it means nothing to them.
Listen to them. What about, okay, so I want to get into clear spirits in a minute, but I'm curious, do you, outside of your own, what are some of the other bourbons that you like? And I love the fact that it sounds to me like you probably had people that liked old granddad better than Pappy Van Winkle or whatever, which I've
Yep.
seen and had both of them. And I remember the one time I got a little sip of Pappy, I was like, I don't get it.
No. No. No.
Okay. Well, what do you like?
So that's another great question. So I'm a drinker. I am not a collector. If you went to my house, you'd be disappointed in my variety of bourbon because I get a bottle and I drink it. I don't store them. I don't save them. And if they're bad, I will make sure that guests drink them or I'll put them in cocktails. But my goal is to get into the craft world. So most of the brands that I like are from like little small producers. I like whiskey, full stop. I'll go to a bar, and even if it's just a Maker's Mark or a Four Roses on the shelf, if there's whiskey available, bourbon or rye, I'm in. I keep very few. So I'm a big fan of Michter's. I'm a big fan of Rabbit Hole. I love Willet. I know Willet is a well-known brand, but Michter's for me is the go-to under $50 bottle that's just always solid and always does exactly what you want it to do. But I don't chase anything. If it's expensive and someone buys it for me, I'm going to drink it like it was $30. Just because things were meant to be shared and drank, not to be stared at.
Right.
So I like to drink and I like variety. So I don't, those three names that I mentioned are the only ones I may go back to. Otherwise, I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for a unique mash bill. I'm looking for a small producer who's just trying harder than everybody else to get it done.
Have you ever had Pinhook?
Yeah, Pinhook's great. Whole series is really good.
I had Sean Josephs, their master distiller, was on this podcast like a year ago or whatever. And cool dude, creative dude, works his ass off. Really loves
Yeah,
what I like their style. So okay. By the way, and not that you need to, but if you ever want to connect with him, just let me know. I know him,
I love connecting with other distillers. We love that.
yeah,
Especially opportunity for collaborations or just shared resources. That's something we are. I hate to say we're community focused, but we literally are. Everything we try to do is to highlight the makers, the independents, the people who are out there hustling that don't have billion-dollar bank accounts to get things done. Like my whole team here is 13 people. It's small, and we try to do a lot with what we have. And it's supporting other people like us. While it sounds like big talk, is literally all we do. We support the arts. So that's
yep,
musicians to physical artists to people come in and do teach yoga here to a jewelry maker who's going to sell maybe $100 worth of stuff but has no outlet to do it. We try to actually support those people. It's not just a statement. It's fact. We literally are out there to help the little guy. So we met it's a great small story. We have this awesome um, brand out of South Georgia. Two gals run a beautiful farm. They grow a ton of their own grains on site. We actually sell their product to the public just so they have an outlet for people on this side of town versus South Georgia if they wanted to come and purchase those products. It's we're not making money on this. It's a product sitting on my back shelf just in case people that know that brand want to come and purchase it. So any opportunity we have to help these other brands, we do. And that's why I do all this other business and production is because these people need somebody who they can trust and aren't going to cheat them. And I've got a brand owner sitting in the building right now. We're in the process of bottling his excellent product. He's here to ensure things go the way he wants them to go. And he's out there hustling, doing his thing all day, every day, and knows that we support what he's trying to do. And so things like that mean everything to me. I go to bed at night feeling like I've not only done my business proud, but I've helped others do theirs as well. And so that, as much as it sounds like hyperbole, those are the things that actually engage me in general and that I love to be able to do for others. While we grow, we help others.
yeah, dude, I love that. I can tell it's genuine too. It's very clear. Well, I'm going to get you connected to Sean. I think you'll like him. He's a great dude. He's down in New Orleans. And
Well, that's awesome.
yeah. So okay, I want to change gears to clear spirits for a minute. Like you said, you do gin, you do vodka.
Hmm.
Okay.
We do gin, we do a vodka, we also do a Maro. If you're familiar with what a Maro is, it's
No,
an
I'm not.
herbal liqueur. So think like Fernet Branca, think um, Jägermeister, think like a digestive or an aperitif, things like that. Herbal liqueur. So I would say the Italians more than anybody, but Amaro is made everywhere around the world and all made very, very differently, depending on the
Yeah.
city, the state, the country, the township. And so we make one that pays a little bit of respect back to the state of Georgia. So we use Georgia peaches in it. So you get this balance. It's usually very bitter. And ours, you get this balance of both bitter and sweet.
Um, are you familiar with, a place in Mississippi called Wonderbird Gin?
I do not know Wonderbird. No.
Dude, I got to connect you with this guy down there, Chand Harlow. He's down in Mississippi and his base product or base crop is rice. And there's
Oh,
four,
that's cool.
there's four distilleries in Japan that use rice for their gin. And there's one in the Western hemisphere right down there in Mississippi. Um, super cool dude. Got connected with him a couple months ago, had him on here. Very similar like philosophy to you, man. Like he's just loves what he does and loves just everything you're saying. Anyway, I'll connect you with. I love connecting people, man, that like are passionate about what they do, and I know are good people because it's like
Well, so
all
it makes it worthwhile, Will, for sure.
that's right, man. Um, so yeah, well, let me ask you this: like, I anecdotally, so you would have the data and you would know. It just seems like people were shifting. So like, it seems to me like bourbon had this big, like everybody's drinking bourbon for a while. And now maybe less so. I do hear more about clear spirits. That's why I want to ask about like gin and vodka. And is that the case, or am I just like wrong? Like,
You're
it's
not
all
wrong.
like,
You're
like,
not wrong.
okay,
You're not wrong. I think what I can say about the spirits industry on a whole, because you have a lot of stuff like THC beverages, you have the Gen Zs who are just not drinking at all, you have
right,
all these non-alcoholic options. I'll tell you something about whiskey. It's not going anywhere. I think it is a roller coaster like anything, especially in a normal economy, where you can consider it almost a commodity. People made too much whiskey, so prices did come down, but people aren't going to stop drinking. Less people
right,
might drink. They're not going to stop drinking whiskey. And I agree that there is a resurgence of other products. Rum is on the come up. Gin has been on the come up. It still has not come up as much as I would have hoped because I love gin as well.
yeah,
Tequila, of course, is having its moment. I think that market has gotten saturated. It's not going to fall off anytime soon, but dark spirit drinkers will always be dark spirit drinkers. I think people are finally realizing that things like gin can be made better than the Hendrix of the world. And I don't mean to knock any brand. When I make a comment about these big brands, it's more to put a spotlight on the non-generic. Like I think Hendrix gin is just a generic gin. It's not
yeah,
bad. People are used to it. They call for it. But it's Hendrix's fault why I didn't like gin for a long time because it was nothing but juniper. You got this bomb of like a Christmas tree. And I think juniper is one of those things that's polarizing, like let's say cilantro, where either you like it or you don't. There's no in between.
yeah, right.
And I think gin has, because of smaller producers, you're getting a world of complex, seriously thoughtful gins that are outstanding. And I would say the same for rum. Tequila, you can see tequila. People that drink tequila are always going to drink tequila. And there's a need for it when a margarita is a must have in a lot of situations, just like an old fashioned might be, right? Gin is one of those things that people just didn't understand enough. Now you have professionals who know how to make fantastic cocktails with it. And you have producers that are using local botanicals that are not the same set of 5 or 6 that you find in every generic gin. So even ours, while it's a London dry style, it's got a bit of a twist. We mess with like a Szechuan peppercorn. There are things that modify gin to be exceptional. And I'll tell you a quick solid story. So when I was working on recipe development, being I wouldn't say a new gin drinker, but was like newer to really diving into gin, I really thought that the world wanted a gin that people would drink neat, not in a cocktail, not even on ice. Because I thought to myself, the effort people put in to put these botanicals together to create such an interesting gin, why wouldn't somebody want to express that in a glass on its own? And I
Right.
tried it all over the country, and I was so wrong. Nobody wanted it. It was so wrong. Nobody had any interest in a gin neat. Now, sampling something like that's great, but people don't want it. They want that put into something, even if it's just a gin and tonic. They don't want the spirit straight. And so I had to go back to the drawing board because the gin that we had worked on was meant to be drank a particular way. So as soon as you diluted it with ice or with other stuff, it lost the nuance. And so it was a waste. And so I scrapped it and moved on. But I thought I had it figured out. I was like, people actually want a gin like this. It's going to change the world. People could have cared less. Nobody wanted to drink it that way. Most people don't like drinking spirits neat anyway. Even people who drink vodka, do shots. They want it chilled down. They don't want it just like out of a bottle into a glass. And
Mm.
so I was wrong there, but I learned a valuable lesson that it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think. It matters what the world thinks. And that's going to be subjective. So you can't please all the people all the time. But you try to make something that is universally appreciated. And a gin that was meant to be on its own was not the answer.
Dude, that's fascinating. I like, if I were going to have bourbon, I tend to like it neat just because for that I don't want, unless it's like really hot out, whatever. But like, like to me, you want to taste like whatever the flavor profile is that the person who made this was going for. Yeah, all this other stuff, it's all tastes like all the other stuff, which is cool. Nope. I
Yeah.
mean, good old fashioned is always, like you said, they've been around, they'll be around. But I tend to like things neat most of the time. I wonder why is it that people would drink bourbon neat and not gin neat? Why is
That's
it?
what I thought. That's
Ever
what I
figured it
thought.
out? Like,
No, I thought I did. I'm like, well, people just didn't know they could.
yeah,
And that was really my initial was like, oh, it's just people don't know any better. Like, why wouldn't they? Because I try everything in its pure state first,
or at
right? And
state.
also, but also like I'm drinking unaged whiskey straight off a still at an extremely high proof at 7 a.m. before I mow the lawn. But that's not me saying, oh, look at me, I'm cool about it. But I mean, like I like to know what it originally tasted like. And then when we sample our own whiskey here, if we're tasting from a barrel or if we're like working on something, we always go neat. Then we always do a couple drops of water, and then we always just sort of play the whole world to see what it is, a little bit of water, a little bit of ice, a little balance. And I personally, I think because we'll see, I'm not lazy, but I am a convenience drinker. There's nothing better for me than to just grab a bottle of whiskey, pour some in a glass, not worry about having to find ice to chill it or mix it with something. I get exactly what I want. So even somebody who owns a cocktail bar, I like a cocktail, but I'm never going to choose to make a cocktail. I'm always just going to drink whiskey in a glass. Just for that, I wouldn't say it's pure. I want to taste it in its original state. Like I want to know what somebody intended before I want to go ahead and play with it.
Um, dude, that's fascinating. I just like, I can't, that would drive me crazy trying to figure that out. But I think it's smart. You're like, I have this. I mean, look, this is why you're such a good entrepreneur, dude, because you're like, I got this idea. I'm sure I'm right about it. But then you go start trying, and whether you believe it or not, if the market doesn't, you're like, okay, I got to iterate. Like, I was wrong. Cool. No ego. Don't really understand, but all good. Like, that's what you just um, articulated, I think when you hear somebody think that way, you go, that's an entrepreneur. Because you have to be able to set your own personal beliefs aside when the market's telling you otherwise, not tie your ego to it. Be cool with being.
I am a prideful man, but I can tell you, being an owner and a founder for as long as I have, to get stuck in a world where you think you're right, you're gonna fail because you said it exactly right. You got to take your own personal feeling out of something and look at the bigger picture. And that is really hard,
Yep.
especially for somebody who has not worked for somebody else for a long time, where I still
Yep.
want the final say, but it's ignorant to think you know everything. And
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with better people allows you to be a better owner, allows you to
Well,
be a better entrepreneur.
you said it early in this conversation, which is you really try to put yourself in a situation where you're around people that are smarter than you. This person,
Always.
this piece better. This person knows that. They're an expert here, they're an expert there. Like, I feel like a great business owner, that's what you should do is like, I don't know all the answers. I know the general idea of what I want to do, but I need people that really understand it. You pull them in and you learn from them, and or you also let them roll, like, and let them.
Being a micromanager is the easiest way to kill everything. So
Yep.
I like to create the ethos, and then I want my people to succeed and fail on their own, where I will not micromanage. I've got younger employees that like need a pat on the back all the time. And then I've got, people my age and older that get it. If they don't hear from me, that's a good thing. It means I'm letting them be just to do their thing. So you got to play both those worlds. But when I've got a bookkeeper who I see once a week, maybe, and he's an older guy, not old, but he's older and doesn't need constant, pats on the back. And so somebody said, "Oh, have you spoke to so and so recently?" I'm like, why would I? He's doing a great job. Why would I need to bug him with stuff
Yeah.
when I know he's doing a great job? And I think there's a different generations of people who like need the constant feedback that they're doing well. And I say it frequently, if you don't hear from me, you're doing awesome. That means you just keep doing what you believe is right. I support how you're doing it and it fits my ethos. So we're good to go.
Good stuff, man. Are you so you have your facility there. Do you own your building? Did you build
We do.
yeah, okay. Good for you.
Well, we renovated a building, but yeah, we gutted an old building where we are and started from scratch.
Okay. Um
Simply because I knew that this business is one of the most capital intensive businesses that I'm aware
yes.
of. And no matter how much money I previously made and how much I've been able to save and invest and do everything else, building a distillery, having the ability to own the facility, own everything in it. Now I had to take out plenty of loans to do that, but this business takes a lot of time to build up. For brand awareness to just get out of our state, to get, if I can replicate what we're doing in Georgia and 50 states and then go global, which is the big picture, great. But if I was just paying a lease or whatever it was, I would run out of money very quickly and I would have to shut the doors much faster because there's too many other people involved at that point. So having all of this sort of as my problem, my family's problem, it gives me a little more leeway to build it properly and slower versus trying to make sure that someone's getting their return immediately. Now we have investors, but we structured it early on that they were going to have to wait till we were making money to start getting paid back, and each one of them understood that. So, not being beholden to a landlord, not having all these other partners and stuff like that, it gives us opportunity. I mean, I'd love to collect a paycheck, but I'd also rather have to keep the lights on for now. So,
Nope, I got you, man. How many? When you have an event there, I'll tell you why I'm thinking of this in a minute. We may need to talk. Like, I may want to do something with you. How big of an event can you have? Like, you have a
great
band.
question.
Like, how many
Yep.
people?
So our event space holds. So we have three ways you can go about this building. You can rent one of three spaces, or you can rent the whole building. So if you were just to take our event space, which allows our bar to stay open and our gallery to stay open, it's about 165 seated in the traditional sense, and it goes up to about 225 people for cocktail style, where you're not sitting around tables. It's more cocktail tables. You can fit bands, DJs, all of the fun stuff. If you were to rent out our entire building, now you're talking 400 people.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll tell you why I'm asking. So, it's like crazy timing that you and I are talking that you have this space, because one of the things that it's been interesting to me, and that it's like been on my mind for a while, and I'd like to start figuring out a way to pull this off is, so dude, we've got like all these, independent restaurants, bars, whatever, all over the place, right? That use our scheduling software. And we really value connecting with our customers and more than just like, hey, our software works and you like it and you pay for it, right? We take incredible care of our customers. My personal cell phone's on our website. Like, we're small, but like we value that relationship piece. And one of the things I've been doing for years, Seth, is we have these well, I have a hat on right now, but we also have these socks, tube socks that say fly, right? And we have some hats that just say fly, not schedule fly. But I will like box them up, like handful of hats, handful of socks, write a thank you card, send them out. And then people they love it. First of all, they start wearing our gear in their town. And then we've grown a lot through word of mouth. But I've always been like, man, the next level of that is like, what if we had this event where we went to a town, let's say Atlanta, and we got a band that was like somebody that uses Schedule Fly in some restaurant in Atlanta is in a band, 100% guaranteed, right? Probably a lot of them are in bands. What if we found a band and then we invited all of our customers there to come to an event, and we had the band and we had like a bunch of like people that all, are our customers, and we're there and we have a bunch of gear there and merch, and we just have fun. Like, I've always thought that would be a cool thing to do in the back of my mind. And now you having this space, and I know that we got a lot of customers in Atlanta. I'm like, maybe we should just go down there and just like try one of these things. Like, I don't know how to do it. But I know that if we did it, it would be a lot of fun, and we'd learn a lot, and then we'd figure out how to model that and take it to other cities and stuff like that. Cause we're not like, we're also like, we're small, we're, never brought in venture capital and all that kind of stuff. And we've got all these competitors that have raised hundreds of millions. And so they kind of run the playbook, sales, marketing, blah, blah. And we're always like, let's do this a different way. And that's one of the things I've been thinking about. So it sounds to me like you've got the perfect place to do something like that.
For sure. We do a lot of everything when it comes to events. So it's something that would be right up our alley.
Okay. Okay. I definitely want to follow up with you about that then, dude. I think that'd be freaking awesome to do like this fall or something. So I know you're going out. I won't keep you much longer. I know you're going, you said tomorrow you're heading out and going on a cruise, and this is your
Yep.
family, right? So you have
Yep.
kids?
I have two children. I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay. That's awesome. That'll be a fun trip. Are they, do your kids like, they hang out at your play? Like, do you think they'll be involved in I know they're 11 and 8, so who freaking knows? But like, would your ideal situation be that one or both of them get involved one day?
I would like to think that we build this business so well that it becomes a family legacy. My son, so both my kids are far smarter than I am already, which I love. They take after
Yeah.
my wife. My daughter helps me here all the time whenever we do, like if we have like a single barrel whiskey we want to sell, she comes and sets up the tables. My son comes and works here when he works here. He pretends to help. He'll carry some grain around. He walks around in production. They let him like move a pallet jack around. So he's actually quite interested. I get in trouble for letting them taste spirits quite frequently. You know, they dip a little pinky in it. But both my kids can tell the difference between bourbon and rye, and that was something that meant a lot to me.
That's a,
But they're both wildly interested in what we do. I think my daughter loves the science side of it, and my son likes the sort of physical labor side of it. And so they both are well steeped. They know my whole team, and they come here frequently. On Sundays, they'll come in with their mom and some friends, and we keep some games and stuff in the back for them. But we make a lot of non-alcoholic drinks here as well, so they love the idea that they're getting a cocktail, and it's actually a lot of fun for them. And I think they're very proud that they've got this family business, which is
they
beautiful.
should. And that's awesome that they're growing up in it, dude. I really love the story of, have you ever heard the story of Yingling? You know, Yingling beer?
I know Yingling beer. I don't know if I know its like full history. Is that Philadelphia or
They're
Pennsylvania
up
in
in
general, or no?
Pottsville, Pennsylvania, man. It's
Yeah,
like literally like fifth generation now. And I heard them on, there's a podcast called How I Built This. And, I mean, I listened to this episode. It's probably been 10 years or more, but the dude, How I Built This, it's hosted by this guy named Guy Raz. It's like a
I know
PBS.
who Guy Raz is.
Yeah. Guy had this dude on there, and Guy's like, he's talking to the current CEO. Dude's fourth generation, right? He's like, okay, first of all, you're only on the East Coast. Like literally all these years later, you're only on the East Coast. Why? And he goes, we may grow to other areas, but dude, we literally are still not in every market on the East Coast. Like, so there's no reason to get like overly, there's a lot of people expand too fast, and then you like miss all the things that are like the important core values of your brand. And why would I bother with that when there's markets right here in our backyard that we're still not in? And guys like,
Yep.
okay, well, the other thing is, do you realize you could sell your company and like make billions of dollars? And the guy's like, yeah. He's like, well, why don't you do it? He goes, well, Guy, I wake up every day. I drive 5 minutes to my office. I'm fourth generation. My family, great great grandfather started this. We have a lot of pride in this company. I'm not hurting for money. I've got what I need. Like, I'm good. What would I do afterwards? Like, what would I go do? He's like, well, you'd have $1 billion. You could do whatever you want. He goes, I'm doing what I want, dude. Like, this is
Yep.
what I want to do. He goes, and by the way, this is why this all comes back to this, why I'm telling you the stories. He goes, fifth generation, my kids, two of the three of them, they're in the business. And when I'm gone, insert them, they're running this thing. Maybe the sixth generation, but like they can do whatever they want. But he's like, I just always thought that was really cool because there's this whole concept of like grow real fast, sell, make a bunch of money. And then it's like, but then what? Like, I mean, like if you love what you do, like pass it on to the next generation. Like maybe
That
they
is super
doing it too.
true.
Yeah. I just thought that was a really cool story. I always admire that, his philosophy on that.
He's right on about it. Cause I hate the saying, like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I just think that like, I get asked that too. And what I will do when I retire, I said, well, first of all, I'm obviously nowhere near retirement, but I would actually love to move to the north part of our state into the mountains, have the farms that grow the grains for this distillery and allow either the distillery to roll on or to be in the family and just be the grain provider and
yeah.
have some sort of connection that way, because living off the farmland would be a fantastic departure for me. I live the fast like city life, if you will, but I do not like it. And I would much prefer to be a little slower, be in the mountains and not, do something physical and just if I could get away from being behind a computer, that would be my
Amen.
favorite thing in the whole world.
Amen, dude. I love that. Well, we'll wrap with that, man. Seth, thank you so much. The last thing I'll say is I think that the PR firm that you use, Sprout House, A plus. Like every interaction I've had with them has been with phenomenal freaking people like you. I mean, literally, like they've probably had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 people on this podcast or whatever it is. Always like incredible people. So they clearly are good at, you know, focusing on people that have a great story, have a lot of passion, can articulate that story well, really good at what they do, something unique. So anyway, I just give them a little tip of the hat. So I think they do a great job. And
Thanks, man. I think they're awesome as well. That's great. And I mean, they will love to hear that. So that's a beautiful thing.
well, thank you for being patient, bro. I appreciate you very
Yeah,
much.
no worries.
Hey, how do I don't know if I have your contact info. Let me you want to write down mine and you can maybe send me an email or something because I want to introduce you to Sean at Pinhook and Chand down there at Wonderbird. And plus I want to get
Yeah,
up
shoot.
team about doing an event. So it's W Brawley at schedulefly.com, which is W and then B
Gotcha.
or AWLEY. You got me. Okay, cool. Awesome, man.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your time and we'll talk real soon.
Have a safe trip. Have fun, man. Get out of that heat.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate it, man. Take care.
Bye. Bye.